When you hear super soldier, you probably think about Captain America.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
But throughout history, there have been real-life super soldiers who dedicated their lives to defending their people and convincing almost 20,000 ranker voters to support them on today's super soldier tier list. Celtic Warriors attacked their enemies with a violent charge, and they usually did it naked.
Good grief, he's naked!
Which they thought of as psychological warfare. An army of nude men bearing down on you with their long swords drawn is probably distracting, so our voters placed them in B tier. Apache Warriors were renowned for their endurance, and it was believed by many that they could run 100 miles a day. Although, why would you want to?
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Armed with a tomahawk, jawbone club, and bow and arrow, they were some of the greatest guerrilla fighters in history. As a sign of respect, we're not even going to make a guerrilla joke. They placed in A tier. The highly trained Zulu Impi, who fought for the famous Shaka Zulu, often bested militaries armed with more advanced weaponry through their surprisingly brilliant tactics. As a result, they've often been compared to the Spartans, who won the Rose Bowl in 1954, 56, 88, and 2014. They placed in C tier. Active in Europe during the 15th and 16th century CE, the Landsknecht had an origin story worthy of a Batman movie. Seriously.
You must become more than just a man in the mind of your opponent.
They were trained by a clan of mercenaries that became their bitter rivals. And they fought using tactics that allowed lower-class mercenaries to bring down elite knights. You would think that would make them popular, but they placed in D tier. Exemplified by Genghis Khan, who was not the Khan from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Mongol warriors were known for their unmatched talent for horseback archery. They also carried sabers, in case they decided they wanted to kill you up close. For that, they placed in A tier. Viking Berserkers were so bloodthirsty, they were considered dangerous to the Viking soldiers they marched with.
Berserker!
Before combat, they were said to put themselves in a semi-hypnotic state, which would make them impervious to pain and ruthless with their enemies. It might not actually be true, but it sounds awesome. And the Berserker placed in S tier. In Monty Python movies, Roman centurions are clownish dimwits obsessed with Latin grammar.
Conjugate the verb to go. It is aeon.
But between 750 BCE and 476 CE, these grizzled badasses were among the most skilled and effective warriors in the world's most widely feared army. That's probably why they placed in A tier. The famously brutal Maori warriors collected the severed heads of their enemies, and Maori warrior chieftains may have even cannibalized those they defeated in battle. They conquered New Zealand long before Peter Jackson decided to use it as the backdrop for his Lord of the Rings trilogy, and you have to respect that level of foresight. So they placed in B tier. To become a Jaguar warrior, an Aztec would have to prove themselves in a test that disappointingly had nothing to do with actual jaguars. They had to capture 4 enemies alive and bring them back for ritual sacrifice. That's pretty cool, but they still only placed in C tier. From the heroes of Akira Kurosawa's films to that rabbit guy who sometimes hangs with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
your eyes betray you.
Samurais have long been the epitome of cool. Master swordsmen expected to live by the strict code of Bushido, samurais often defended the country from Mongol invasions. That placed them in A tier. Persian Immortals were not actually immortal. They were called that because they maintained a standing army of 10,000 warriors. And if a soldier died, got sick, retired, or abandoned their post, they would be immediately replaced by a reservist. That's a lot less cool than actual immortality. So they placed in D tier. The Tonic Order was formed to fight the Third Crusade, which, spoiler alert, didn't go well for them. Members took vows of communal poverty and fought with a long, straight-bladed, two-handed battle sword called a Crusader sword. It didn't win the crusade, but it placed them in B tier. The Mamluk were warrior slaves, largely Kipchak Turks from Central Asia, and they rose up to overthrow their Egyptian masters and establish the Mamluk Sultanate. It's more impressive than the rebellion that got Spartacus a movie and a cable series. But he must have a better agent, because the Mamluk didn't get any of that.
I'm Spartacus. I'm Spartacus.
They placed in F tier. Thanks to a massive PR boost from the movie 300, Spartan hoplites are considered the ultimate badasses. King Leonidas, that dude played by Gerard Butler, who kicked the messenger down the well and shouted, "This is Sparta!" He was a hoplite. Bred from birth to be fighters, their might was incomparable, which is probably why they placed in S tier. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.